it offers a platform untuk develop Islamic wealth solutions yang bukan sahaja kompetitif but also align dengan the values yang kita boleh bawa kepada customer. Dan kita juga melihat Singapore sebagai gateway untuk cross-border investment antara Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia dengan ada country yang lain juga.
Hai semua, selamat datang ke The Kaya Raya Podcast. Saya Taisha Han dan bersama saya adalah
Salihin Samsudin. Dan bagi sesiapa yang baru saja ikuti podcast baru kami, The Kaya Raya Podcast, kami menyediakan platform ini atau wadah ini untuk ketengahkan isu-isu yang berkaitan kewangan Islam. Dan kami ada banyak topik yang telah kami pun berbincang di dalam series podcast ini, termasuk kewangan Islam, pelaburan dan juga budgeting. Dan pada hari ini kita ingin ketengahkan satu isu yang menarik. Actually semua isu kita menarik.
Memang betul.
Topik
Lagipun kita pengacara yang menarik juga dan tetamu kita juga menarik-menarik.
Dan hari ini kita ingin bincangkan tentang satu topik, iaitu tentang Singapura. Mengapa Singapura merupakan tempat yang pelabur perlu letakkan duit mereka di dalam sini. Dan bersama saya kembali lagi di dalam series podcast ini Encik Abdul Halim dari Maybank. Encik Halim, apa khabar?
Baik, terima kasih Rashid, terima kasih Taisha untuk welcoming back to Kaya Raya Podcast. Saya Halim, untuk orang yang baru masuk podcast ni, dari Ketua Pengurusan Kewangan Islam daripada Maybank Singapura. This topic yang pasal untuk Singapore as a hub is something close to me. Before saya dapat position ini, saya dulu menjaga offshore di Maybank juga. So saya harap saya boleh bercerita kenapa Singapore yang cili padi kecil ni boleh powerhouse dalam kewangan.
Dan sebagai permulaan perbincangan ini, saya ingin ketengahkan bahawa Singapura ini memang dikenali sebagai satu pusat kewangan yang matang, mempunyai reputasi yang tinggi, dan kita dikaitkan dengan kekuatan dan kestabilan dolar Singapura. Kita punya currency kirakan is one of the most stable ones within the region itself. Jadi saya nak Encik Abdul Halim kongsi mengapa Singapura merupakan satu tempat yang menarik bagi pelabur-pelabur setempat ini.
Bayangkanlah Singapura ini macam safe deposit box yang besar. What's most important sebagai investors yang nak berlabur di Singapura ini, ke the peace of mind, right? Be it your stable currency yang you mentioned, government yang stable, semua. All these are perkara-perkara yang penting sebagai investor yang hendak berlabur di Singapura. Policy kewangan mata wang Singapura ni kuat. The monetary policy. Government just stable, right? Mata wang Singapura ni kuat. I think then talking about safe environment. I think that's the most important thing. Why Singapore is in terms of offshore wealth management. But of course, the regulatory framework untuk menjaga dia punya produk-produk, be it untuk pengurusan kewangan Islam ke konvensional, kuat. So dia tak ada bermakna dia tak ada yang untuk ni, yang ni untuk syariah, yang ni untuk konvensional, pada orang semua ni sama. So that's the beauty of Singapore, and that's why there's this small little island daripada zaman nak cakap Selangi Laut Utama.
Okay. Jauh.
Wow, jauh tu.
Kepada
tu sebelum dijajah.
Sultanate Melaka. Singapore is always called one of the central hub. Be in many different. Normally, what they call it in trading, right? Now we have the financial. So in Asia, I would dare say that we are, or in the world, we are the top 3. Of Asian financial center, and that doesn't come without the right framework, governance, government, and everything.
Who is the other two? Kalau kita top 3?
If I'm not wrong, will be one of Switzerland. Of course, Switzerland will be one of them in terms of Asian, not Asia financial center in the world. The second one perhaps could be London.
So Singapore is top in Asia lah. Correct. Even compared to like Japan, China.
Used to be Hong Kong, but ever since I think there's the last riot.
Okay. So Hong Kong dah drop lah.
Sukanya. Suka orang riot tau. Susah tau.
So that's why I mentioned the importance is the peace of mind.
And do you see that trend? Is this the same perception for our regional punya investor? They see Singapore as a safe haven?
Yes, definitely. I mean, they always say, right? Most of our funds in Singapore mostly come from Malaysia and Indonesia, right? And of course, there's a big influx of Chinese so coming in. Hopefully, inshallah, what we are looking for is also not just Asia. We are looking to capturing the world itself. But of course, that will be one of our ambitions in terms of that. So that's where Maybank coming in is that we want to integrate, especially dalam pengurusan kewangan Islam, to integrate within that financial framework to be as part to offer you that proposal. It doesn't matter, be it conventional. To ride on the excellent wealth management hub, Pengurusan Kewangan Islam also wants to be Singapore as the one of the offshore wealth.
Which demographic atau which country are you attracting for Islamic wealth management? Is there a specific macam Middle Eastern countries ataupun only from the regional punya countries?
So the main priority is always say that let's look at the low hanging fruits, rambutan ke depan ke mata kan. We are looking at Malaysia HQ. Maybank HQ is in Malaysia. That's definitely our home market, followed by Indonesia. I mean, from a Pengurusan Kewangan Islam perspective in terms of offshore hub, right? Malaysia and Indonesia, majority are Muslims. It's only right that these are the two main home market. And of course, we have a very large presence in these two countries lah. Untuk GCC being they are Muslim, definitely. I think this is definitely something that we are looking at. If you're asking me where our priorities, the immediate focus will always be Malaysia and Indonesia.
Why would Middle Eastern investors masuk Singapore? Because to me, they can invest in somewhere nearer to their own continent kan? Macam Europe, America and so on. Why would they come all the way to Southeast Asia?
So this is the part, that's the beauty of, if I may loop in the diversification for the diversity. I think there's no right and wrong in terms of putting your money. At a certain stage of your life where you have acquired a certain substantial duit banyak kan, dia nak letak duit daripada di luar negeri. It's not because of your home country or the country that you are staying in that doesn't give you the comfort. It's just that you want to capture the growth potential in the growth area markets. In this case, in terms of Singapore, the level of products being made available in Singapore is quite wide. Of that, which may not be so wide in your home country itself. So you want to take opportunity in terms of to diversify your assets to put in other countries apart from your home country. So it's just more of maximizing your returns and capturing. So if I bring it back to my earlier podcast in terms of maximizing your that one, but at the same time also if Singapore offers me Sharia wealth solutions, it's a perfect.
It meets their requirements.
Yes, correct. Match made in heaven, right?
So kalau nak cakap Singapura ada lebih banyak option yang maybe kat negara diorang tak ada. Macam mana kita nak beritahu diorang yang kita ada all these things? So if you want, what efforts are being made to inform them that this is available in the first place?
So I think in terms of we need to focus also on Singapore. The one thing is first is word of mouth. Word of mouth is underplayed, but it's a very powerful tool. I think in terms of domestic wise, right? I think Singapore is one of the cosmopolitan countries itself. I mean, you yourself, both of you, I'm sure you have traveled to a lot of other countries. Yes, cakap dengan kawan-kawan kat sana, oh Singapore dia ni, I think one of the conversation as per normal will always be revolving around money. Then you start to say, kat Singapore, sekarang ada cara solution kita sebagai orang Muslim, kita tak ada macam kesusahan untuk melabur, right? So all this start to speak conversation. And of course, in terms of institution, in terms of how we project ourselves also is also into the media. Just from the corporate level itself. Is through events, cross-border events. Because in a bank, because we are regional bank, kita work very closely. Saya walaupun saya based in Singapore, macam next week saya pergi Jakarta, pergi KL. So all these things we are doing a reach out to inform the customer. Because not surprisingly, we are aware that based on our study, there's ada certain percentage of customer yang diorang memang nak buat offshore diversification. Tetapi diorang ada Sharia requirement needs. So one of them never even go out to diversify because they says that other countries doesn't meet my requirements of a Sharia requirements.
This is an Indonesian
or Malaysian. But there's another group of customers who says that my offshore diversification needs has a higher priority than my need. So this is what I meant about darurat, right? It's not being able to actually, doesn't mean that this country doesn't have Sharia solution, doesn't mean that you cannot invest. So they just have to invest in conventional products. So these are the big large percentage of group that if we do a reach out and inform them, we will see inflows coming into Sharia wealth solutions. It's all about how do we amplify untuk menyatakan kita di Maybank Singapura ada offer around the solution that they need. So it's not just conventional, but it's also it's the Islamic wealth portion itself.
And now you're saying that Maybank dia nak position itself as the Islamic wealth management hub, right? But generally we know, we are still on that journey. It's still new. How do you dapatkan confidence from these international investors to park their money kat sini?
So when we say that in Maybank, I think in last year November, we had an event to state our not say our interest, to state I would say that we Maybank is offering end-to-end solutions in terms of Islamic wealth solution, and we are on the path. The first thing is, while it's showing an intent, right? What we have done from then to now, right? I think it's not just good enough to say that it's our intent. At the end of the day, what customers looking for is solutions. Apa pelabur-pelabur yang ada? Macam last year kita ada 2 je kan. So our focus is to address your point is kita nak muka pelabur lagi banyak dalam syariah solutions. That's the first level. Then once we have that solution level and it's beyond just wealth products, then we move to the jannah portion, which is the pillar 4 or the purification part, and pillar 5, the distribution part. If we can offer to say that not only we are able to accumulate your wealth, but we also can assist you to pay, to assist your zakat calculator. I think zakat calculator, the good thing is that nowadays it's much more accessible. I mean, MUI is having a zakat calculator itself, is helpful itself, that itself. But of course, I mean, we want to offer in terms of wasiat, about wakaf. I think, and when I talk about wakaf is, when you're talking about high net worth, right, the wakaf solution is always quite important towards them, especially if talking about giving to their descendants, their generations below them. It's quite important.
I have a question Because tadi we were asking macam where are most of the investors coming from. Okay, tadi ada orang cakap low hanging fruit, tapi rambutan tu sedap juga dia bukan low hanging fruit Rambutan pun sedap, apple pun sedap But I have a question pasal Maybank. Maybank kan bank Malaysia. So why do you want to make Singapore the Islamic wealth hub and not Malaysia?
Malaysia is always our Sharia center of excellence.
What does it mean by
Wow, that's the very quite the statement, Sharia Center of Excellence, but the Islamic Wealth Hub Singapore.
Yeah, so if you're talking about all the religious scholars, the one that decide what can be done, what cannot be done, what is Sharia compliant, what is Sharia compliant, they are the experts, and they make no qualms that we say that in Malaysia they are making a stand as an industry level to say that we want to be the Sharia Center of Excellence, and Maybank being the biggest bank in Malaysia is leading the way. So, but having said that, while Maybank is our HQ, but do you know that Maybank in Singapore is called Maybank Singapore Limited? We are locally incorporated itself. So we are as good as, we are the 4th largest bank in Singapore itself. So we are as local as it can be. So that. But having said that, why we choose that portion Islamic Wealth Hub itself, it goes back to the main core of it from a financial center perspective. Singapore is the top 3 financial center. It provides strong currency, stable governance, policy kewangan yang kuat. So all this plays an important part when as an investor putting money, and the ease of moving. So normally as an investor, right, while you have all these different benefits, it's also equally important, right, for you to know, right, about estate planning. Right? Is it easy for you to move your funds to other countries? Because each jurisdiction has different rules. So, and Singapore is known to be one of them, right, that has, I would say relaxed, has a governance system or a asset servicing system that is well structured and clear and transparent. I think that's the most important thing as an investor itself.
Okay, mungkin untuk pendengar kita dari Malaysia atau Indonesia atau dari serantau ni lah, mereka nak letakkan duit mereka di Singapore. What is the process for them?
Okay, so untuk rakan-rakan daripada Malaysia, Indonesia yang dengan lain yang hendak melabur, hendak meletakkan wang di Singapura, right? I think it's well established antara pasal Singapore is a safe haven. I think what's most important is, as an investor, that it doesn't matter about Singapore or not, it's very important for you to know what is your regulatory tax consideration, your regulatory requirements, be it in your own country or even be it in Singapore. Whether the requirements, the regulatory framework, the tax consideration are aligned to your financial goals. That's one of the most important, I think.
And your ethics, I guess.
And your ethics itself. So you need to make sure that you need to know what are you getting into.
Would you say it's more favorable for them to put their money here instead of their home country? Because in this case, it looks like it lah. Because Singapore remains attractive, right?
So to be politically correct, right? I always say, right? I always tell people that there's no right or wrong. It's always good to put in the money. To be honest, I say, for example, I'm a Malaysian, right? My family is in Malaysia. My business is in Malaysia. My housing, my loan, my car loan, everything is in Malaysia. I definitely need to put aside a substantial amount of my funds still in Malaysia. But I still want to capture the growth market in Singapore. Case in point, and something that you are familiar with is the Singapore to Malaysia ringgit conversion, right? 15 years ago, $1 Sing is equatable to 2.5 ringgit. Right now, now Malaysia is higher, but at one stage it was 3.8. 1 Sing equals 3.8. Just by currency by itself, right?
Bila aku miss nak tukar duit. When was that?
So I already make a lot of money in terms of that aspect itself. This is the way I would say the opportunities in terms of Singapore portion itself. But beyond that currencies itself also, as you know, Singapore in terms of tax regulatory is not as high. For example, our dividends, we are not taxed. Our capital increase, we are not taxed. We don't have, of course, Malaysia doesn't have also estate tax duty. Singapore also doesn't have estate duty. But there are some countries, if you're talking about UK has 40% estate tax on their properties itself. So all these things need to come into play. That's why it's good for you to understand what you're getting in. Of course, every country has its own pros and cons lah. But tak bermakna, as long as you don't have that principle of kata bawa tempurung. So you must open up itself. And I think Singapore is well positioned in terms of that. One thing I want to highlight is that I think Pengurusan Kewangan Islam is something is quite, I wouldn't say new, but neither would I say quite well established, right? I think we achieved that in the beginning of this podcast, right? I think the regulatory framework, what we want to achieve is if we are able to use the robust financial framework in Singapore and integrate Islamic wealth solution into offer, I think the standing of the offerings is much more higher. I mean, if we offer something into a product in Singapore vis-a-vis to other country, with the standing of Singapore as a Singapore financial standing, right, it's much more reputable. But of course, we leverage our strengths. Our strength is, for example, in Malaysia, like what I mentioned to you, Syariah Center of Excellence. I think it gives a certain level of credence or kepercayaan kepada investor, right? Oh, ini dari mana ni? Dari rumah sendiri buat shop sendiri ke daripada Maybank Syariah? So it makes a lot of difference, right? From an investor perspective, right? So this is something that I want to share lah in terms of this.
Okay, wait. Just now you said to be politically correct. So if you're politically incorrect, then how? What you want to say?
So beyond the home market, right? I mean, if you take a look in terms of, the comparable Hong Kong, like for example, right? So Hong Kong and Singapore has always been competing as an Asia financial hub itself. I think that particular riot really about with the citizens of Hong Kong and China have a shake in terms of foundation itself, right? Of how customers or investor pelaburan hendak melabur view their portion, right? And they are concerned about the banks being riot, bank run and everything, the stability of the banks over there. So they start to move out. So this is a very clear example as if you remove currency, you remove policy kewangan and everything, right? At the end of the day, if there's riot, that the trust is not there, easy flow. So it's very important for Singapore to learn from our neighbors. So that's why the peace that we have, the stability that we have, is not forever. I think there's a lot of effort and work behind
It's very ominous.
It's not forever. Things change, right?
So tadi you make a case that outside investors, regional investors should put their money in Singapore. And Singapore is painted as the heaven, right? The safe haven for all the money. But in this case, kalau we as Singaporean investors, what would make us invest outside, put our money outside?
Same thing also, it could be, for example, higher return, higher profit. Assuming that, for example, certain offerings like sukuk, Sing dollar sukuk in Singapore is not easily available in Singapore. But I still want to purchase sukuk. Malaysia is very strong in sukuk issuers. I mean, of course, right now, Middle East is a bit more stronger. But if talking about nearer to the neighbor, Malaysia is quite strong in sukuk. There are many opportunities for you to invest sukuk. But of course, as an investor, like Pelaburan, saya kena mengetahui apa yang risiko-risiko dia. A case in point, ringgit. I'm aware that in future, it could be potentially the value of my money could be lesser given to me. Purely based on the exchange rate. So this is the yang paling penting, risiko-risiko. Macam kebanyakan kadang orang pergi Malaysia, second home.
Yes.
Rumah kedua mereka di
This also
Malaysia.
diversification. Diversification doesn't mean just about money. It could be also buying a property in Malaysia. But first, sometimes people feel Malaysia has a lower pace of life. So there's always pros and cons in everything that we do. That's why I want to bring it back to say that it's important as an investor, you must know what are your risks, what are the pros itself. So for you, before you make a decision. And this applies to any investment, especially Sharia wealth also.
So untuk rakan-rakan kita dari Malaysia atau dari Indonesia atau dari serantau ni, mereka nak invest dalam Singapura, adakah reason utama mereka is because of the Singapore dollar, the strength of the Singapore dollar? Because for them, from their perspective, they have many other investment opportunities within their domestic market, and their market is definitely much bigger dari Singapore. They have that option if they want to diversify. So why would they want to come to Singapore? Is it just because Singapore dollar?
From one view, yes, you have a point in saying that. But tak bermakna you invest kat Singapore, you kena invest dengan Sing dollar saja. So that's the beauty of Singapore sebagai Asia financial hub, right? Wealth center, right? Because Singapore, Malaysia ringgit dengan Indonesia memang tak ada tradable currency overseas lah. Tapi tak bermakna you as an investor, you tak nak penabur duit US. Penabur investment dalam US, dalam Euro, even multi-assets itself, right? It goes beyond that. Of course, you can use Singapore dollar as a basis, but you also can use other currency. And the best part is that the availability of options of pelaburan yang investor hendak buat, it goes beyond just typically Sing dollars. Ada macam unit trust. I give you a case in point. Unit trust has your, of course, Singapore dollars that invest in Singapore, but there are also unit trusts that invest in, for example, healthcare, energy sector, USD dollars, Sing dollars, Euro dollars, Australia dollars, that gives you, for example, dividends or profits, or doesn't give you dividends or profits, good technology itself. It goes beyond that scope itself. So if you look at one angle, yes, you have a point, but that's the one of the main reason why people still do invest in Singapore, because of the wealth of opportunity, just of investment products. I mean, I will not get started in terms
Because of the wealth full stop gitu.
so of properties, for example, right?
Basically, we are the gateway lah to
Yes.
all the global investment opportunities out there.
And then I have a question macam, is the Singapore dollar also, pasal Singapore dollar ni kuat, boleh ke dia jadi macam kelemahan juga pasal untuk orang yang nak invest, let's say orang di serantau ni, Singapore dollar ni mahal. So diorang nak buat investment is a very big ask also sometimes. Is it also a weakness, the Singapore dollar, the strength of the Singapore dollar?
Again, similar, Salih, with what I told Salih and Dasha. You are correct in one view. I think at the end of the day, what you're looking also the stability. It's not about quad. Quad is one element. Yes, I agree. But it's also the stability yang kewangan duit Singapore. For example, as much as possible, if you want to buy Sing dollars at, assuming 1-to-1, you hope that after 10 years, 20 years, it still be 1. So this is what I mean by stability. Whether it's strength or not, so the question also is, I can pose to you, if turn the other way around. Is it because Sing dollars kuat ke your initial currency tak kuat? So for example, if you're talking about 15 years ago, right, people also say the same thing like Singapore mahal lah, sekarang 2.5.
But now Singapore extra mahal. So actually they would have profited even more.
But based on the track record, right, I would say that can it go up higher? But probably.
Hopefully not. Like as in kesian Malaysia. Kalau makin naik, you know what I mean?
But of course, we also do hope that, our neighboring country also grow. At the same time also, I think it's a growing part as part of the community as a whole, right? We also, when we go shopping to Malaysia, sedap eh?
I have a very inciting question actually. Do you think that Malaysians or Indonesians who invest in Singapore are betting against their own country?
I hope not. I think it's more about diversification itself. I think like what I mentioned, I think most of their monies are still in their home country. It's just more of that hedging or increasing their wealth from the opportunities that Singapore offers them. If they are better, they have moved all their funds in Singapore. I'm sure you have friends who used to be Indonesian, who used to be Malaysian, but now it's a Singapore citizen. So it's more of them moving rather than they're hedging or they're going against the currency.
So kalau para pendengar kita yang dah confirm diorang nak melabur kat Singapura, apa produk-produk yang ada kat Singapura ni, kat Singapura ni? Tak tahu kenapa bila kita cakap bahasa Melayu mesti kita cakap Singapura juga Apa produk-produk yang ada kat Singapura yang tak ada di Malaysia ke, Indonesia ke?
Ditawarkan lah di negara-negara serantau.
So kebanyakan kalau saya bercakap pasal suku is quite common, right? The first thing, right? So kebanyakan suku yang di Indonesia ke di Malaysia, kebanyakan dia lah home country, diorang punya offering local, which is denominated in ringgit. denominated in rupiah. Untuk diversifikasi, kadang-kadang diorang tak suka, macam I'm overexposed in my home country already. I want to have in USD dollars. I want to have sukuk that's not available in my home market. So that's where Singapore one thing can offer you the level of alternative solutions. The second one also is in terms of index funds. I think index funds is something that, of course, depending on certain risk profile and everything, but I think an alternative option you can consider without much, I would say, fees or high fees that associated with any investment, low cost fees. I think something that you can actually follow accordingly, rather than, for example, you want to buy technology stock. So technology stocks by itself, if you want to buy, for example, the most popular one right now is Nvidia, costs around 100 plus USD per share, right? But having an index fund, right, you are following the performance. It's a basket of stocks that they follow, like Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, etc. That you follow the performance without actually actively purchasing it. Then you diversify. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket, right, the risk level is higher for you. And the best thing of it is that some of the index funds are Sharia compliant. So it's not just that you have a conventional only. So there are Sharia compliant that is performing much better than conventional on average, actually.
So are you saying that access to that is available in Singapore but not in other countries?
Yes, that's correct. Correct.
But it's not just growth companies macam Nvidia also, but there are also index funds which are globally, geographically oriented, right? You have certain exposures in certain countries, right? Which is probably not accessible macam Russia and China and so on, right? Is that an alternative?
Maybe Russia not now lah. Pasal sanction, banyak sanction, right? But I think the thematics also, for example, renewable energy is not something that's quite common in terms of that. Or if you're talking about energy industry, right? Clean energy, dia tak common juga dalam industri lain itself. So inilah kelebihan Singapura lah untuk the options available for you. And dia tak limited kepada one currency only. It's all the available currencies that is not restricted or controlled. You have the option itself.
And now comes in Sharia compliant flavor also.
Yes, now Alhamdulillah ada the Sharia compliant flavor. So this is something that we want to offer to our clients lah, and hopefully that people will not say that I mana nak boleh invest Sharia kan? Tak ada Sharia solution.
Ada, sekarang ada. Datang Singapore ada.
So sebagai penutup Encik Halim, mungkin Encik Halim boleh jelaskan kenapa Maybank mengambil posisi sebagai Islamic Wealth Management Hub ini dengan begitu serius. What is the goal for Maybank?
Maybank ni memang committed kepada Islamic Wealth Management, right? Because di Singapura kita nampak the demand, and not just Singapura, the demand regionally and internationally. So Singapore as a global wealth hub, kita nak kita bukan saja kepada masyarakat Muslim, tapi kita also juga jaga non-Muslim yang berminat dengan values-based investing. So dengan posisi Singapore sebagai international financial center, it offers a perfect platform. It offers a platform untuk develop Islamic wealth solutions yang bukan saja kompetitif, but also align dengan the values yang kita boleh bawa kepada customer. Dan kita juga melihat Singapore sebagai gateway untuk cross-border investment antara Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia dengan other country yang lain juga. So it's a perfect blend of opportunity itself. So we just making sure at Maybank, we are just making sure investors like yourself and the listeners are able to tap into this level of opportunity.
And is this something yang only Maybank offers as compared to the other banks? Or probably what are the plus points? What are the unique selling points?
I mean, I would say that we will not rest on our laurels. I mean, as of now, I think in terms of Islamic wealth solution from an offshore wealth management hub, Maybank is the only one that is offering it. I'm sure there are other banks looking at it closely in terms of what Maybank is offering. But like what I mentioned, we will not rest on our laurels. We always will try to improve on it itself.
Sorry, I was going to say, but as a lay person also, one of the benefits of Maybank is that there are so many branches, so it's more convenient.
Yeah, certainly.
This is actually just like as a lay person, the fact that it's accessible also.
I think a lot of our original also like to come to Singapore, right? Be it from a shopping perspective and everything. And of course, this is something that is always been attractive, right? To investor from a shopping perspective. Not sure how cheap is it, because we are locals, right? But I believe it is cheaper seeing the number of operations. I think I always see that the success of Singapore, how popular Singapore is, how busy Changi Airport is. You've been to traveling, you always see Changi Airport buzzing with activities. I think this is something that we always see as a gauge, right?
Yeah, certainly. I think Maybank, one of the plus points is that it has a regional presence within Southeast Asia. They know what they're doing, basically, for the past few years, and they have a plan they are targeting towards as the regional Islamic wealth management hub.
So if I may say towards the end, right, I think I want to leave the message to the listeners is that jaga diri and keep growing your wealth the right way.
So pada saya lah, bila saya dengar ni, saya rasa macam sebagai rakyat Singapura, saya
Bangga lah.
bukan bangga je lah, macam quite lucky also,
Yes.
because like I don't have to go elsewhere.
Perlu bersyukur lah.
Yeah. Saya tak payah pergi sini sana nak cari syariah. Because dulu bila saya muda, like when I was younger, bila saya muda, I was looking, how do I invest syariah compliantly. Habis I macam just gave up. I don't know how to do all this research. So I just gave up. So the fact that, it's starting to pick up in Singapore, and that there's Maybank, maybe other banks also looking closely at furthering it. Great.
Maybe they are following what Maybank is doing.
Maybe. Yeah, but it's nice. So sebagai rakyat Singapura, kita also quite lucky. So yes, hopefully that was very enlightening for everyone. Siapa-siapa nak invest di Singapura, carilah Maybank. Diorang sponsor kita, jadi kita carilah Maybank. Dia ada 18 branches in Singapore. Terima kasih sudi dengar podcast kita, the Kaya Raya Podcast under the Financial Coconut. And like, share, subscribe. See you all soon. Bye.